my best to make it work.
I'm back on the road safely.
And I saved you money on brakes.
Well, that's personal pricing.
Before the break, I asked who Richard Nixon was talking to during the infamous 18.5-minute gap in the White House tapes. Well, he was talking to his chief of staff, Bob Haldeman. That conversation was 3 days after the Watergate break-in. Let's give a shout out to Scott Swain, who sent me the right answer first on Twitter, @ScottSwain. Show him a little Twitter love, everyone. Nice job. Time now to go beyond partisan talking points to the heart of the political debate, where all sides are fair game. Herman Cain is in the spotlight today for something other than his 999 plan or those sexual harassment allegations. This time, it's a stumble or a stammer during a question and answer session with newspaper editors in Milwaukee. Take a listen.
So you agreed with President Obama on Libya or not?
Okay, Libya. President Obama supported the uprising, correct? President Obama called for the removal of Gaddafi. Just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing before I say, yes, I agreed, I know I didn't agree. I do not agree with the way he handled it for the following reason. No, that's a different one. I got to go back to see. Got all this stuff twirling around in my head. Specifically, what are you asking me? Did I agree or not disagree with Obama?
Well, Cain says it was just a pause. On CNN's American Morning today, one of the editors in that room said he was stunned by Cain's response to the question. So let me bring in CNN contributor Maria Cardona and Republican strategist Ron Bonjean. Maria, let me start with you. Was this a big deal or maybe just a blip on the radar of a candidate in the middle of a very tiring campaign?
It is a huge deal, Randy, and frankly, it wasn't just a pause. It was a long pause, followed by a shift in his chair, followed by rearranging of his jacket, followed by a clarifying question to the questioner, followed by looking up above his head. I mean, it was painful to watch, if it's possible, more painful than Perry's debacle in the debate the other night. And what it clearly shows is, I have had a theory about Herman Cain, as I think a lot of strategists have, is that he was never really in this to seriously win it. He was not prepared, and Libya is not some obscure country in the South Pacific. It's not even one of the stands, which apparently Herman Cain doesn't think are important enough to know their names or their leaders, as he said a couple of weeks ago. It was Libya. Libya, the front page of many international newspapers and national newspapers for months. So I don't think it is a small deal, and it's going to be very tough for Herman Cain to live this down.
I want to share with our viewers another important clip here, because Cain's campaign actually said that that snippet doesn't tell the whole story, that he did answer that question. It was taken out of context. So let's hear exactly what he answered, really just about 22 seconds after that moment.
I would have done a better job of determining who the opposition is. And I'm sure that our intelligence people had some of that information. Based upon who made up that opposition, okay, based upon who made up that opposition, might have caused me to make some different decisions about how we participated. Secondly, no, I did not agree with Gaddafi killing its citizens. Absolutely not. So something would have had to been, I would have supported many of the things that they did in order to help stop that. It's not a simple yes, no, because there are different pieces, and I would have gone about assessing the situation differently, which might have caused us to end up at the same place. But what I think more could have been done was, what's the nature of the opposition?
So, Ron, what do you think? I mean, will anyone actually remember that seemed to be a pretty well thought out answer, or will they just remember the pause?
They'll usually just remember the pause. You know, it just shows you how difficult it is to run for president, especially when you get thrust into the front-runner spot, as he did. And, you know, he's dealing with a big-time crisis around him. And, you know, it just shows you that he has to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time, and that this is a very unforgiving process. And remember, it's the primary process, and that's what it's for, is to find out who's actually the best who could take on President Obama in the 2012 election. And clearly, Herman Cain has a lot of development to do on the foreign policy side, you know, in terms of the speediness of him answering questions. He can't have anyone second-guessing him right now. He can't make any more stumbles because he's made too many. And it just shows you how tough it really is to run for president.
15 seconds, Maria. He's down 14% now, according to the latest CNN ORC poll. How does he turn it around?
I don't know that he can at this point, Randy, but it has been a very topsy-turvy season, so who knows. But the problem is here, it was a flub on foreign policy, which is where President Obama, who has really done so well in terms of getting rid of so many dictators, getting rid of Al-Qaeda's leaders. Right now, I think President Obama is insurmountable when it comes to foreign policy. People are not going to see Herman Cain as a person to be able to beat President Obama on foreign policy.
Thank you both. That is Fair Game today.
Thanks so much.
There is more talk of change in the Middle East. After months of unrest, the embattled president of an Arabian Peninsula country says he's willing to resign under certain conditions. Do you know what country we're talking about?